You are listening to the X106 Sports Podcast, the first one of the 2017-18 school year and the 2017 fall semester here at Northwest Missouri State University. I'm Trevor Mader. Joining me, Jacob Blair, new to the podcast, and Sean Nino. A lot on the docket here today, and it's the most wonderful time of year, guys. Football season finally here. College football last Saturday. The NFL kicks off in a little over 48 hours. Doesn't get much better than this, does it?
No, not really. I mean, college football, it's a great time. Other than that, because it started, I had something to do over the weekend instead of just sitting and hoping football comes back and catching baseball. Now we have actually, sports to watch, and there were a few good games, and then there were also a few surprises.
The thing I liked was there was real football this week. I know we had the week 0 a couple weeks ago with South Florida, San Jose State, and Stanford Rice, but, a couple of marquee matchups this week, maybe not quite going the way maybe we thought they would, but all in all, a full week of college football, and we're 1 week in the books. I believe there's 13 or 14 more left. And what were some of your guys' takeaways from this Saturday?
Well, I laughed that Texas lost to Maryland. UNLV lost to Howard. They were a 45-point favorite and lost, so that was amusing. Baylor lost to Liberty, which is ironic because I enjoy seeing Baylor lose for the things that have gone on at Baylor for football and non-football reasons. And then the Florida State-Alabama game, it didn't live up to the hype, but that's just because Alabama dominated, and then Florida State lost a quarterback. So
yeah, I believe DeAndre Francois, I believe that's how you pronounce that, their quarterback, a torn patellar tendon, I believe.
Yeah,
I know he's out for the season now, so definitely going to be interested to see what happens there in Tallahassee. Yeah, an interesting week, to say the least, in week 1. Not a good week for the Big 12. You start the week off, Oklahoma State looked pretty good, beating Tulsa on Thursday night, so you think, wow, maybe the Big 12 is going to have a good week. Texas, a team that got a lot of love in the preseason polls, even if it wasn't deserved, came in ranked 23rd, got ousted by Maryland on Saturday, and then Baylor losing to Liberty. I don't remember the final score off the top of my head. Was it a one-score game?
Yeah, I think it was 48-45.
That sounds about right. I don't remember off the top of my head, but to me the Baylor loss is alarming because not only it's Baylor. I won't knock a team necessarily for losing to an FCS school if it's a good FCS school. Losing to North Dakota State, there's really nothing to be ashamed of there. Losing to James Madison, probably nothing to be ashamed of. Youngstown State, Sam Houston State, the top-notch Division I FCS programs. No, I'm fine with those, but Liberty has never really, I think, been a team that has actually been worth much. So is this they were 6-5 last year. Is this a sign that maybe Baylor's going to struggle a lot this year?
Possibly. It's really hard to say from week 1 because, games can be a fluke and all of that kind of sort. But, if you lose to an FCS school, I don't think you're going to be very good.
Yeah, it's difficult to say. We'll welcome Jacob into the podcast now. Jacob, I don't know how much you got to watch of week 1, but what were some of the takeaways you were able to get after observing week 1?
Well, first off, I believe week 1 there's not a whole lot to take away. There's a lot of top-ranked schools that don't play a lot of big opponents, but of course you got to look at Alabama, dominant. That's probably my biggest takeaway is just how dominant Alabama looked, and that they're going to be the team to beat all year. But other than that, really, it's just teams fighting with their injuries. Florida had a lot of guys out, and Michigan. At least Michigan's defense looked like they were ready to go after losing all those guys out at Michigan.
Did anybody catch the Texas A&M UCLA game Sunday?
I did, but only after Twitter hyped it up because I checked it was like 44-10. I was like, okay, I get to go to bed at a normal time because I have to wake up a bit earlier. Okay, whatever. Well, then it starts going. I'm like, oh, UCLA's coming back. Looks like I don't get to go to bed early, but it turned out to be great because one of the top prospects for the NFL, Josh Rosen, right?
Josh Rosen.
Okay, I just had to make sure the name was right. But yeah, he came back. Texas A&M, I have no idea how you don't win that game when you're up by 34.
Yeah, I think the writing is probably on the wall for Kevin Sumlin this year. I'm not even sure why he's still there, but the talent Texas A&M has had and the way they've been able to recruit, when you have guys like Johnny Manziel and guys like Mike Evans, Myles Garrett, they have one of the top wide receivers in next year's draft class in Christian Kirk. And that kind of loss is the kind of loss that will get you fired. It'll be interesting for me to see what happens with Kevin Sumlin this year. If he somehow finds a way to beat Alabama, he can maybe get away with another 8-4 season. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't get the chance to watch the game, but you don't lose that game. When you're up 44-10, I get it was against, a guy that's probably going to be the second or third quarterback taken in the draft this year. But you're supposed to be one of the contenders in the SEC. To me, you just don't lose that game.
No, but I mean, they're also in the harder side of the SEC, and I mean, I didn't think they were going to be able to beat Alabama, but that's one because I don't think anybody's going to beat Alabama at this point. So, I mean, I don't know if he'll be able to stay or not. It's too early to tell at this point because, it's just one game, but because they did blow a 34-point lead, it's going to kind of haunt them. And, if this kind of sticks with them, if they can't just, if they end the season only losing 2 games, okay, you can stay. But if this leads down to them, dropping games to teams that they shouldn't, then yeah, he'll be gone.
Iowa this week had the guy who might be the number 1 quarterback taken in the draft this year, Josh Allen from Wyoming. The Cowboys came into Iowa City, a little bit of a lethargic start for Iowa. Hawkeyes got it done, though, and a 24-3 victory, and the defense looked really impressive. So Josh Allen didn't play a terrible game, made some big boy throws, but kind of, got a little overshadowed by the Hawkeye defense.
I don't think any of the top prospects had a great showing until Rosen on Sunday night because Allen, he didn't. Yeah, it was okay. Darnold did not have a great showing when they played
Central Michigan? Western Michigan. Western Michigan.
Yeah, because they can no longer row the boat. Beside the point. But, I think we'll have to see how those players grow throughout the season. But getting back to Iowa, I didn't catch any of the game, but I kept up with it just to see if they lost. I could have pestered you. Would have been great, but they didn't. And you messaged me a few times that, Iowa wasn't playing great, but, how much can you take away from week 1 when, you can't take away a whole lot.
Well, and they got a new sophomore quarterback in Nathan Stanley who struggled the first quarter, but as the game went on, I think he kind of found a rhythm and looked pretty good. I like the connection he's going to have with Noah Fant, their tight end from Omaha for the next couple of years. So might be a little bit of a struggle year for the Hawkeyes. They're going to have some growing pains. They have Iowa State this Saturday at 11, so that'll be an interesting one. Also on the docket this Saturday, some of the key matchups. We'll go ahead and just run through them real quick. We're going to have TCU and Arkansas. Both teams are 1-0 after last week. Auburn against Clemson. Clemson number 3. Auburn ranked 13. That'll be an interesting one. Jarrett Stidham from Auburn, a guy that has a lot of love as a sleeper for a Heisman. And Clemson is kind of tough to say. Their defense is going to be good. But, they're filling some big shoes at quarterback after the season Deshaun Watson had last year.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess after that, the highlight game of the night is going to be Oklahoma versus Ohio State going to Columbus. That's pretty much, I don't think I could ask for a better first two weeks of college football when you get Florida State, Alabama, and then Oklahoma, then Ohio State.
Also, looking Georgia, Notre Dame. Both teams want to know Georgia, however, going to be without starting quarterback Jacob Eason, who suffered a injury this week and will be out for the remainder of the season. So they're going to turn things over to their backup quarterback. One that I'm really excited for, Sean, and it'll be on Fox at 7:30 Saturday night. Stanford, USC. It seems like every year USC is a really, really good team. They tend to struggle with Stanford. So, like you said, Sam Darnold didn't have the greatest showing Saturday. See if he bounces back and maybe gets it done against Stanford. That's a tough one. It is at the Coliseum, so USC will have home field advantage hopefully in that one. But I'm interested to see that one. That might be the one. I'm almost more excited for that than Ohio State, Oklahoma, because I think Ohio State wins by probably 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But, this one, Darnold needs to go out and throw a touchdown because he didn't last game, which is really weird because you would think if you're one of the top quarterbacks that you should throw a touchdown, but he only ended up with 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. But, I don't know how great Stanford's going to be because they played Rice, as you talked about, during week 0. So they've had all this time off. So maybe they can come out and they can, pull something out just because they've been off for almost 2 weeks.
Here's one that I do find kind of interesting. Boise State at Washington State.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of points in that. The over-under for that currently set at 59. The Cougars are a 7-point favorite in that. I would take the over on that one, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Washington State throws it really well. And Boise State, well, they haven't done as well as they had in the past, but that's because the coach left and all things. But, they can still score.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting. So a lot of good games on the docket this Saturday as well, and then we'll slowly start to get into conference play as the season goes along. But right now, I think Alabama's probably the team to beat. And is FSU losing DeAndre Francois, does that kind of maybe put a dagger in their playoff hopes? I mean, the ACC is a really tough conference, not just in the top, but all throughout.
True. I think this is going to hurt their chances. I think they're going to lose games that they wouldn't have with Francois. So I think they'll probably go 9-3, maybe 10-2 if they can get it together. But I don't think they'll be able to be in the college football playoff with this loss.
Yeah, they're going to end up starting true freshman James Blackman for the rest of the season. So
maybe he can do it, and then he can prove everyone wrong. But I mean, having Francois out, that was going to be the focus of their offense, and now that he's out, they have to scramble to get something together.
We'll go ahead and transition on now into the National Football League. Their action will begin on Thursday night. Do you guys know who's playing Thursday night?
The Patriots and the Chiefs.
I was going to say, the Calgary Stampede and someone else.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yeah, man, looking forward to that game.
Patriots, Chiefs in Foxborough Thursday night at, is it still 7:15 kickoff, 7:30?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I thought I thought the kickoff game maybe was a little bit later. That sounds about right. 7:30 kickoff on NBC this Thursday night. It's going to be a dandy, or at least we hope so as Chiefs fans. I read a stat earlier today. Tom Brady, 52-1 in his last 53 starts at Foxborough against AFC opponents. That one loss coming in Week 17 of 2014 against the Bills when he played the first drive and then they benched him the rest of the game. So technically 52-0 if you want to really count it. So Patriots going to have their work cut out for them as they have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time on their side. And in Kansas City, there's hope that maybe they have one of the greats of all time second on their depth chart. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes. I know it's still early. The kid's got a lot of praise so far for some of the throws he's made during the preseason and his ability to step up and learn the offense so quickly. Is Mahomes maybe the real deal going forward? Not necessarily this year, but going on to the future. Is Patrick Mahomes legit?
I mean, so far he looks like it. I mean, he hasn't made a mistake. I mean, he didn't make anything bad in the preseason. And I think as Chiefs GM Brett Veach said, I think it was earlier this week, that Alex Smith is still ahead with him in for game plan and routes, all that other kind of stuff. And that's kind of where I expect it to be, because coming from Texas Tech, I don't expect him to be able to get Andy Reid's playbook just right off the bat. So it's good to see that he still has a grasp of the offense, but I think it's still going to take some time for him to grow. And I think in other situations, he may have been able to get the start, but in Kansas City, I think it's better for him to just sit and grow.
The best thing that can happen to Patrick Mahomes this year is to sit, learn behind Alex Smith, get some time in garbage time, whether you're up by a lot or down by a lot, hopefully up by a lot. Pray that nothing goes wrong with Alex this year, that he's thrust into that situation. Give him a year. If you don't feel comfortable after 2 years, it's not the end of the world. I know a lot of people are really, when you look at the situation in Denver, they're really critical of Paxton Lynch and that it's been 2 years. I wonder if that isn't also because they have a quarterback like Trevor Siemian who is a watered-down Alex Smith, which Alex Smith is basically a watered-down Ryan Tannehill. We can go on from there about that. But, so I wouldn't be too critical if it took an extra year. I think Mahomes is probably the starter in 2018 unless the Chiefs maybe win a Super Bowl.
I mean, it's going to be hard because Alex Smith's contract is either up after this year or it's some sort of option, but it's for $16+ million.
I think it's up because I think it was a 4 year, $68 million, and he signed it in 14.
So then, if that's up, then he's in my opinion, he's gone unless he wants to take money. Will take a lot less to continue to be in Kansas City.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see. But I like what I've seen from Mahomes. He was a guy that I knew that when you look at the system, it hasn't had a history of transitioning over from the NFL or from college to the NFL, but Andy Reid is no dummy when it comes to coaching quarterbacks, and he gets maybe a little bit more credit with Brett Favre than he deserves, but he did an impeccable job with Brett Favre. If you look at what he did with Donovan McNabb, and even had a couple good years out of Michael Vick, and I mean he's just done a really good job with quarterbacks, and I feel confident they'll be able to get the proper things done with Mahomes to turn him into the guy that could potentially be the future. But there are still some problems with him, but man, you gotta love that arm, don't you?
Yes, it is very much Brett Favre, Rodgers. I can't think of any gunslingers right now.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, like I just blanked there. But having those guys have what they can do, you can't teach. You're gonna have certain times where you're like, oh my goodness, how did he just do that? But you're gonna have other times you're like, how did he miss that? What exactly went wrong with that play? Because he just threw it right to the guy. Why? And that's going to happen. So you're gonna have to take the good with the bad. So far, we've only seen the good, and that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to jump directly on. Like, oh my goodness, he's so great. I want to see him in an actual game first, whether it be, as you said, garbage time. And I don't want to see Alex go down, but if he has to, then maybe he can step in and he just, takes the reins.
What I think will be interesting is, say Mahomes is the guy in 2018. Chiefs fans like ourselves, we're going to have the transition from being used to a guy like Alex Smith who, didn't make a lot of deep downfield passes or plays on his own. He just kind of ran the offense very vanilla-ish. But he also didn't make a lot of mistakes. He took some sacks maybe when he could have forced the issue and thrown a pick, but instead he just played for the next down. Whereas with Mahomes, I think you're going to take the good with the bad. There's going to be some plays where it's like, wow, like you said, wow, I can't believe Mahomes did that. That was a great play. And then there's going to be some others that's like, what the heck are you doing? What was he thinking? And I was going to see how not just me or you, but Chiefs Kingdom as a whole is able to deal with that, and how big of a leash he will have when it comes to the fans those first couple of years.
Well, first off, Mahomes has the natural ability, and that's what's
absolutely
scary in terms of the Chiefs fans is the first time Alex Smith makes a mistake, does something the Chiefs fans don't like, the fans are going to want to put Mahomes in the game, and that, I think, is the worst thing that can happen for Mahomes right now is to get thrown into that situation because of the fans. So it's going to be important for Chiefs fans to understand we need to at least give him a year to sit behind Alex Smith, sit behind Andy Reid, learn the offense, learn the way pro football works because he's coming from Texas Tech where it's a real college-style offense, and let Mahomes learn. And if we throw him in there too early and then something does go bad, then you start to question yourself, and then it can all go downhill from there.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with that anymore. And I think I like to think the Chiefs drafted him in 2017 with the understanding that they were going to try as hard as possible to not play him in 2017. And there were a lot of people that, well, he should be the third-string quarterback. Okay, well, the only caveat with that is if you're the third-string quarterback, then you're taking third-string reps in practice and not second-string reps, whereas if he's the backup, he's getting that practice time and getting those reps. So, it could be a double-edged sword there. There could be a situation where, God forbid, Smith goes down in week 7, and he's the guy, and you just bite the bullet, and this is a growing year and maybe a little bit of a painful year, and then 2018, hopefully you see him progress. But going back to kind of what you said, Jacob, how large do you guys think the leash is on Alex Smith this year? I mean, what is it going to take for them to go, okay, we need to try something different?
The team has to be under 500 at least. The offense has to be like 3 and out, close to every drive. Like you have to be stopping, because this is Alex's team. Like it's not, it hasn't changed from anything else. And I think he's not going to throw a lot of picks just because that's the way he is. But if we go to the parts of the season where we're not throwing touchdowns to Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, if we're just not throwing touchdowns, the run game isn't working, which most likely won't be based because of the quarterback. But if things just aren't working and this team is bad, then why not throw him in there? Because you're hoping that he's going to be the quarterback of the future. And so if you're out of the division race, if it's week 12 and you're 4-8 or 4-7, something like that, then you're just go out there because it can't really get any worse at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too. And, so the Chiefs have a bye in Week 10. Let's say they go into the bye week, and, man, they got a brutal way to finish that first half of the season at Houston, home against Pittsburgh, at Oakland, home against Denver, at Dallas. Let's say they go into that 4-5 or 5-4, and then they come out of it and they lose to the Giants, and you're sitting at 5-5 or 4-6. Do you maybe start to wonder, and the offense is playing sluggishly, do you maybe start to wonder, okay, maybe we should give Mahomes a shot at it, or do you say, Alex is our guy, we're going to ride the coattails the rest of the season and hope we can get things turned around like we have done in the past?
I think it depends on how you've played. Because if you're 4-6, but both sides have looked good, it's just been the outcome of the game hasn't quite gone your way, then you stick with them. But if it's like 3-7 and possibly like 4-6, but the offense can't do anything, and then the defense is had to hold you in games, then you might take a look at Patrick Mahomes.
We're going to transition now over into the rest of the NFL, and we'll get some of our predictions here in just a little bit. But I got a couple questions for you guys that I just kind of thought of on the way down here. Aside from Patrick Mahomes, you look at the rookie quarterbacks that are going to be starting or have the potential to start this year. Deshaun Kaiser's already been named the starter. Deshaun Watson is going to end up the starter in Houston at some point.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky is going to end up the starter in Chicago at some point. I'm not so sure it doesn't happen in week 2 or 3 because Mike Glennon, they were stupid to give Mike Glennon the money they gave him for a guy that has done as little as he's done. Which one of those rookie quarterbacks do you think will have the better year?
I think the better year will probably be Deshaun Watson because I think they have the talent down there to let him flourish. I think the Bears are garbage. Cleveland's garbage, but they're less garbage. They just have to build their way up pretty much, They've been through the awful years, and now they're looking better, but it's still Cleveland, so I can't fully, give my... I just can't fully invest my time into Cleveland because they're Cleveland, and they've been bad for my entire life. And other than that, I mean, because Mahomes isn't going to play, and I can't even think of the other quarterbacks and where they went. And I think, was it Nathan Peterman was
went to
drafted
the
by
Bills.
The Bills? I think it's going to be bad there because they traded away one of their only offensive weapons. LaShawn McCoy he's getting older, so we'll see what he can do. But other than that, I mean, the quarterbacks, it's not going to be a lot to choose from for this year.
And I have to agree with Sean that it's going to be Deshaun Watson that puts up the best numbers out of the rookie quarterbacks that play, and that's because he's got the weapons around him. But I do think Mitch Trubisky could put up some good numbers, have a good season, but that's relative to the fact that he's on the Bears, and the Bears are just not that good. So he'll put up some good numbers, but when you compare it to the rest of the league, you compare it to Deshaun Watson, he's not going to get the wins. He might not get as good as numbers, and Watson will come away with kind of that rookie of the year in quarterbacks.
Yeah, and the guy I actually like a lot from this is Deshaun Kaiser. I know he's kind of in a pickle of a situation there in Cleveland, but I like the way the kid is played. He almost kind of reminds me of like a Russell Wilson where he can make plays with his feet, but he really doesn't. I'll be interested to see what he does there being the guy. I think the Browns will be better this year. I don't think their record will show it because their schedule is pretty brutal and there's still a lot of holes there. But I think the Browns are a team that can win 4 or 5 games, which, I mean, the way things have been the last couple of years for them, that sounds pretty darn good. But that'll be interesting to see. Next question. Will Colin Kaepernick sign with the team this year? And if so, who's the most likely team?
I mean, it hasn't happened so far. And barring like a major injury, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I think a team should sign him because there are multiple things that will come to your team because you signed him, both good and bad, and you kind of have to weigh where you want to be. Because you're going to have some fans be like, well, why'd you sign him? And then you're going to have other fans be like, yes, thank you for signing him. And, I mean, he's also not the greatest quarterback. Well, obviously, he's not a great quarterback. He can be good when he's put into the right situation. But, I mean, there aren't a lot of situations that he's going to be able to put into. I can't think of one right now that hasn't been filled that he could go to start. Maybe he could go to Baltimore if Flacco can't or whatever. If he continues to be injured. I'm not certain why the Colts don't sign him because I think he's better than any of the backups they have there. And Andrew Luck might not play for a few weeks. So.
And I don't think anybody's going to sign him. If they haven't signed him yet, with some of the quarterbacks that have already gone down, and then the backups behind him in Indianapolis, you've got Scott Tolzien, who's thrown a total of 128 passes.
And they did just trade for Jacoby Brissett too, who's thrown 20 passes, maybe. I mean, I'm not sure off the top of my head. So yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. So I don't think anybody's going to sign him. I don't think the teams want the baggage that comes with him right now, meaning that you're not going to sign him as most likely your starter unless it's to replace your backup. So you're signing him as a backup, and I don't think the teams want the baggage that comes along with him for a backup.
I'm with you. I don't know that anyone will sign him. However, there are some teams that I think could benefit from signing him. I mean, you look at Jacksonville, their quarterback situation can't be any worse by signing Kaepernick. The Jets, the Colts. I mean, who knows how long Andrew Luck's going to be out. If he's out 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks, you might give him a call. I mean, if you're what about Seattle if Russell Wilson goes down? Is that a guy? I mean, that'd be a locker room that I do think.
Well, I think some of the locker room would hate him, that they would get behind him. But that locker room also almost tore each other apart last season, and that had nothing to do with outside issues. Like, they just didn't like each other, and that almost made that team explode.
All right, 2 more questions here of my 5 questions. Or 3 more questions, excuse me. I can't count today. Who will have the worst record in the NFL other than the Jets? Because we all know the Jets are going to be a dumpster fire. I think the Jets go 0-16, to be honest. Other than the Jets, who has the worst record in the NFL?
Can I answer with multiple teams, or do I have to give one team?
Do you, Sean?
Well, because I have 3 teams going 1-15. So
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I have the Jaguars, Bears, and the 49ers all going 1-15. I don't think any of them are good. Their rosters are garbage. And I think 2 of these teams get their wins in Week 16 against each other. So we'll kind of see what happens there. But yeah, I think the Jets could go 0-16 and be that bad. And you're not going to have a saving grace on that team. They're bad. They traded away their best defensive player. What do they have on offense? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't even know who their Quincy Enunwa, I believe, is their leading receiver.
Because he got injured in the preseason.
Yeah. So I will pull up the New York Jets. I know they have an okay backfield with Bilal Powell and Matt Forte, right. And that's all you got going for you right now.
I mean, if you can't throw the ball in this league, you're not going to win.
The Jets released their quarterback depth chart 2 hours ago, and their starter for the opening day is, as you would expect, Josh McCown. Bryce Petty is the backup. Christian Hackenberg.
That's probably how it should be.
It's the 3 seed, so,
He's the 3 seed. That kind of makes him sound better than third-string quarterback.
Yeah. Well, he's the 3 seed out of 3. The running backs, Matt Forte, starter. Wide receiver was, but behind Quincy Enunwa was Sharon Peake from Clemson, and Robbie Anderson, a second-season wide receiver out of Temple. So
they don't have anybody to throw to.
Yeah. I mean, and when you look at the tight end-wise, you do have Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who, when he stays out of trouble, is a decent tight end. So, yeah, not really a lot going there for the Jets. What about you, Jacob? Other than the Jets, who's going to have the worst season?
Well, got to agree with Sean that his 3 teams are probably the teams that are going to be really bad, the Bears. But I think the Bears will get 2 or 3 wins.
I think I had the Bears winning 3. I'm pretty sure.
I think they're going to be able to pull a couple wins behind good quarterback play for a couple games, because they'll start Trubisky. Trubisky will put together a couple games. But I've really got to go with the 49ers. They were bad last year. They really didn't do a whole lot in the offseason other than their whole coaching debacle they've got over there. And that whole front office is a mess over there right now. And they're trying to get it fixed, but it's going to take longer than this year, and they're just going to be really bad again this year.
Yeah, I think of the 3 teams I named, the Jaguars, Bears, and the 49ers, the 49ers are in the quote-unquote best place right now because I think they have things going forward. I just don't think it's going to show this year.
Yeah, I actually think the 49ers are the team other than the Jets to finish with the worst record, because you look at that whole team right now, and it's kind of a mess. I mean, they don't really have much going for it at the moment. I think Kyle Shanahan is a really, really good coach, and I think he'll get things turned around, because I think Kirk Cousins ends up there in 2018. That's just my opinion. Brian Hoyer right now is listed as a starting quarterback. However, we've seen how healthy Brian Hoyer is it has been the last couple of years. So I think C.J. Beathard, former Hawkeye, actually ends up being the guy at some point this season. There's some talent on this team, but I think there's going to be some growing pains this year. I really like their new starting tight end, George Kittle, former Hawkeye as well. He's impressed in the preseason, but I think right now they're not in a good situation. I think they will be 2 or 3 years down the road potentially, but just right now things are not going their way. So they go 1-15, 2-14. They get Cousins, pad up on the defense, add to that defense,
and then if you have a good pick in the draft, pick up
Arden Key from LSU, or I can't think of the James kid from Florida State would boost their secondary as well. So the Niners would be the team that I would say are probably the most likely to have the worst record other than the Jets, because the Jets are going to be absolutely trash this year. If any of you pick the Jets to win the AFC East, you can just go ahead and walk out. The Broncos have 3 quarterbacks on their depth chart. Did you guys see who the Broncos signed this week?
Brock the human trash can Osweiler. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So
he just threw another interception, by the way. So you got Trevor Siemian, Brock Osweiler, Paxton Lynch. It's a mess there. The defense is good. I don't think it's great. I think it's good. The quarterback who will start the most games for the Broncos this year will be who?
It's hard to say because it's not Paxton Lynch. I can guarantee you that. I mean, if he starts a game, then they've completely traded away everybody at this point. Simeon showed not promise isn't the word, but he showed some upside last year in some games. It was okay, he can prove to be an okay quarterback. And then there's other games where they can't score until the fourth quarter. It's 6-6. Oh my goodness! But Brock actually didn't look horrible when he played in Denver. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Brock will start the most, but I don't know when he gets to start.
And I think all 3 quarterbacks are going to get starts in Denver throughout the year. They're going to start with Simeon. I think he's going to get the most. They're going to try to stick with him the longest, 8, 9, 10 weeks. And then if things start going bad, they're going to try Paxton Lynch. They're going to try Brock Osweiler, try to find something to save their season, because they're going to stay in a wild card race early, but as they play their division teams, because the Chiefs and the Raiders are tough, and they start losing some games, they're going to start trying to find some offensive pieces at their quarterback position, and they're going to play around with all 3 of their quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think that all 3 play. You think a little bit higher of Denver than I do. We'll do our playoff predictions here in just a little bit, but I think all 3 play. I think Osweiler maybe ends up playing the most, because Paxton Lynch, to me, just hasn't impressed me. And a lot of people talk about Mahomes and not playing a system. Paxton Lynch, I think, took 99.5 of his snaps in college from the shotgun. I mean, they had to basically teach him how to take a snap from under center, which doesn't transition over, and that's tough enough to learn as is, I guess. So I think Osweiler will be good enough to keep them going. He didn't look bad in Denver because he had a good defense. But he had a good defense in Houston, and he looked like absolute trash. So interesting to see there. My money is on Osweiler getting the most starts at some point later in the season, maybe when the season doesn't really matter as much for the Broncos. Last question. There are 2 teams in Los Angeles now, in case you guys didn't know that. The Rams and the Chargers. Which team finishes with the better record in LA? I'm not going to ask that for New York because I think it's pretty obvious. The Giants aren't going to go 0-16. The Jets probably will.
From here, I think it's going to be the Chargers, because I think they have the talent. I think the Chargers, in theory, could win the division, but I don't think they will at all. But I think they have the talent and the pieces that they could, and I think the Rams are still going to be bad, but I think they'll look a lot better than last year with not being able to have an offense. They just looked like they couldn't move the ball. The one bad thing for the Rams is Aaron Donald has not reported to camp as of yet, so they don't have one of their best defensive players, and possibly one of the best defensive players in the league. So that'll be a hit to them if he doesn't play from week 1 onward.
And it sounds like Aaron Donald's willing to hold out until I think week 8, I believe.
That's a lot of money he's not going to have, but if he's planned it right and he wants to get paid, then he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it'll end up in fines. Probably not even $1 million. But when you're Aaron Donald, you're wanting $120 million, $150 million.
Basically to become the highest paid.
Yeah, well, what's $1 million? I mean, I think if I'm Aaron Donald and I pay $750,000 in fine to get that 5-year, $160 million contract, and I don't know if that's even close to what it's going to be, I think that's worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, if he was smart, he would have prepared for this for a few years. If you know that they're not going to give you a contract, just put away some that you may get paid throughout the year. Just put it away. And so then for this situation, you still get to live. And then when you get the new contract, then you can pay off the fines and all that stuff.
Well, I would like to think he still would have some of that rookie. I know rookie contracts aren't as rich as they used to be, but I would like to think, he hasn't blown all of that. I don't really know his financial.
I would hope not. If he doesn't have money now, I can't imagine what his life's going to be like when he gets that huge contract. Is he going to just buy the stadium they're playing in now? Because, it's at least for the Rams, it's being built. I was thinking of the Chargers for a second because they're playing in it's 27,000 capacity stadium. Like, they didn't even fill it out for a preseason game. Come on, guys.
Jacob, Rams or Chargers? Better record.
I think it's going to go to the Chargers. They've got more talent. You've still got Phillip Rivers there, who's still on the upper tier of quarterbacks, not the top tier, the second tier, but still up in the top 15 in quarterbacks. And then the Rams, you still are waiting to see if Jared Goff is going to do anything over there in Los Angeles. Some people still think he's going to be good. I don't. I think he's going to be a bust. I think the Chargers, they're going to fight for that 500 record, 7-9, 8-8, but the Rams will end up getting about five wins, 5-11. Maybe they'll sneak 10 or sneak 6 wins and 10 losses. But I think the supremacy in Los Angeles is going to go to the Chargers this year.
I think so too. I'm doing my season predictions right now because I'm kind of lazy and put those off to the last minute. But so I'll be able to tell you what I actually think record-wise they'll end up here in a little bit. But I would say probably the Chargers. I think they have more there. I know. Is Mike Williams out for
He's not out for the season. He's on their starting roster, and I don't think he's on the injured list. So he doesn't have to miss games, but I think he's going to be out for a bit.
And I like what I saw from Melvin Gordon last year. I think San Diego, has the capability to win somewhere between 5 and 8 games. Maybe get 9. Joey Bosa, in probably 3 or 4 years, we will probably be talking about Joey Bosa the same way we talk about J.J. Watt. The kid just has it.
Yeah.
And I like what they're doing there. The Rams, I like Jared Goff. I liked him coming out of college. It just, I haven't seen it yet. It also doesn't help that their offensive line play has been pretty bad. They got Sammy Watkins this year, so we'll be interested to see what he can do there. Watkins has been good when he's healthy, so he's got to stay healthy. But Todd Gurley had a kind of a down year last year after tearing things up his rookie year. Interesting to see what happens there, but I think it's probably pretty clear-cut that the Chargers have the better record this season from LA. So did we all go Chargers on that one?
Yes.
All right. Here in a moment, we're going to get ready to preview our NFL playoff predictions here on the X106 Sports Podcast. It's now time to make our NFL season predictions for the 2017 campaign. Sean, Jacob, and I will all have our predictions coming up. We're going to pick each division winner as well as the 2 wildcard teams, our league MVP, and our Super Bowl here. So we're going to get things started. We're going to go division by division. We'll start off with the AFC North. Last year, it was pretty much all Pittsburgh all the way. They struggled a little bit on, but they got things going late. Won that division, made the conference championship game. What do you guys see happening in the AFC North this year?
I have it being Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, Browns, and I think it's pretty safe to go. I think the Bengals and Ravens could switch, but I don't think either team's going to be great this year.
Yeah, I have the Steelers taking that division, and then I have the Bengals. They're going to finish second. The Ravens will be third. Those, again, they'll be pretty close right around that 9-7, 8 mark, and then, of course, rounding out will be the Browns.
Jacob and I have exactly the same. I have the Steelers at 13-3. I actually went through and picked game by game. The Steelers at 13-3, the Bengals at 10-6, the Ravens at 10-6. I think both teams, the AFC this year is just not really that tough, except for maybe the top 3 teams. So, I had them just on the outside looking into the playoffs, both going 10-6. The Browns, 2-14. Their schedule just kind of tough this year. You have Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincy. You do get the Jets, so that's a bonus. But when you have to play Green Bay and Pittsburgh twice, and a lot of those games are on the road too, it kind of makes it tough. So we all have Pittsburgh winning the AFC North. We'll jump into the NFC North now. Last year, Green Bay won that division. It came down. They started off slow as well too. Came down to a Week 17 game against Detroit. They got it done, won the division, and then caught fire from there and made the NFC Championship game. Is it Green Bay's division to win again this year, guys?
In a landslide, I think Green Bay is going to run away with it. I don't think Minnesota's going to be where they were last year. I think they got a little bit lucky last year, and it's just going to be Green Bay by 3 or 4 games in that division.
Yeah, I have Green Bay, then Minnesota, Detroit, and the Bears finishing at a lowly 1-15.
I have Green Bay going 15-1, Minnesota 8-8, so I think it's a landslide, 6 or 7 games difference. Detroit 5-11. Detroit, we talked about, off the air, won a lot of games last year that really they maybe didn't have any business winning. I don't even know who their starting running back is going to be this year. I don't know what to expect from Detroit. Chicago, I have going 2-14. I don't like having a lot of teams going 1-15, just because I think you can steal a couple. So I do have Chicago picking up 2 wins, a whopping win against the Lions in Week 11 in Chicago, and then getting one from the Browns at home as well. So that's my NFC North. So far, we've all gone chalk with the Steelers and Packers in their divisions. Move on to the AFC South now. This one, this is a really kind of a weird division. It hasn't been the best the last couple of years. Which one gets it done, guys? Tennessee, Houston, Indy, or Jacksonville?
Well, it's not going to be Jacksonville. I think the Colts are bad, and they're not great with Andrew Luck, in my opinion, but I think they would have a better chance if he was able to play, but we don't have a definite timetable of how long he's out or when he will return. So I have Tennessee winning the division with Houston coming very close. I think either of those teams could win, and I think Houston may have a better roster, but I think because of the way it played out, Tennessee just has a bit of an easier schedule, so they're going to be able to pick up an extra game on top of the Texans, so then they'll be able to take the division.
This division is going to come down to the games they play against each other. They're all going to be kind of right around that 9-7, 8-8. Maybe one of them can grab 10-6, but it's going to be who can win the most games against each other, and I think that's going to be Tennessee. I think Marcus Mariota is going to come back strong this year and give the Titans a playoff spot.
I think the Titans last year make the playoffs if Mariota doesn't break his leg in Week 16 against the Jaguars. I have, in this order, I have the Titans going 12-4, the Texans going 10-6, the Colts going 5-11, the Jaguars going 3-13. A couple years ago, we thought the Jaguars would be the it team. Blake Bortles just kind of had that one good year, and he's flamed out. They're a mess right now there in Jacksonville. So, and I'm with you. I don't think the Colts have maybe one of the worst rosters in the league. And you throw in the fact that Andrew Luck has been dinged up and doesn't have the weapons around him. I have the Colts going 5-11. I'm not selling the Colts this year. Moving on to the NFC South, which could be one of the more competitive divisions in the NFL this year. They've had a different winner almost every year. I think the Panthers are the only team that's ever won it back-to-back years in a row. Who's going to take the NFC South this year, Sean?
I have the Buccaneers winning, then Panthers, Falcons, Saints. I think the Falcons are going to drop off, have a bit of the Super Bowl hangover. I don't think the Saints are going to be great, but I think they're still going to be able to score, but their defense hasn't had enough help. And speaking of the Buccaneers, we have slightly breaking news on a podcast. By the time other people learn this, it will have already come out, but the Buccaneers and Dolphins game that will be hit by the hurricane has been moved to Week 11 when both teams were scheduled for a bye, which means we get that Week 1 bye for the Dolphins and Bucs, which only slightly affects me because I picked Mike Evans first in my fantasy draft. So it's the only downside I have of this game. But for getting back to the NFC South, I think I think the Buccaneers are going to take it. I think the Panthers, if Cam Newton can play like a pocket quarterback and be successful, then they can go better than 9-7. But I'm going under the assumption that they're not going to have the greatest quarterback play, but their defense and running game will be able to carry them through many games.
I think this is going to be one of the most hotly contested divisions in the NFL this year. I have Atlanta taking it. I think they're going to, in contrast to what Sean said, they're going to come back after that Super Bowl loss, and they're going to have a fire under them, and they're going to try to go out there and get back to a Super Bowl. The only concern with the Falcons is they did lose their offensive coordinator. But other than that, I think the Falcons will take it. Carolina's going to be right there. Tampa Bay is going to be right there. And unfortunately for the Saints, they're just going to be in a really, really tough division.
Yeah, I have Tampa Bay winning, going 13-3. The Panthers 11-5. The Falcons 9-7. The Saints 4-12. The Falcons, I think you'll see regress. But it's just tough. Definitely. Not only the fact they lost the Super Bowl, but to lose it the way they did. I mean, up so much, so late in the game, and for things to turn south on that, it's just difficult to recover from something like that. the Panthers last year, Cam got beat up a lot. I know there's a lot of questions of will he actually be able to become a pocket quarterback. I think he will be. I think Ron Rivera is a good enough coach, and Cam's a smart enough player and a good enough player that he can learn to adapt to the pocket game and have the Panthers in a good season. Plus, Christian McCaffrey, keep an eye on him this year. He's on my fantasy team, so I'm expecting big things from him. The Saints, I have going 4-12. They're in a really tough division. They don't play enough defense to get it done. AFC East, do we even really have to talk about this one? Everyone has the Patriots, right?
Yep, Patriots and friends. So when I did my predictions, I may have given the Dolphins less credit as I've been checking out other sources of sports info. They have the Dolphins, possibly being a playoff team. I don't think so, but maybe putting them at 5 wins was too small. So I mean that's my thought because people actually like that Jay Cutler went there. I don't, but I also see why it could work.
Those
out.
people are Bears fans, right? They're just glad he's not in Chicago anymore.
I think he just had to get out of there at that point. Confidence is a thing that you have to have when you play quarterback.
He just doesn't have it. And leadership helps too.
But if you don't have that, then you can't play. Bortles, I don't think is the worst quarterback, and I think he could make that team 9-7. But because he's lost confidence, he's not going to, and they're going to win 1 game this year.
Win 1 game?
Yes, that's what I have.
You have the Dolphins going 1-15?
No, the Jaguars.
Oh, we're talking AFC East.
Well, sorry, that's why.
Okay, you had me really confused talking about how you had the Dolphins a lot lower than most people, and then you put them even lower than you originally did. You had me all sorts of confused. So we'll go to Jacob. Maybe he'll not confuse me as much.
Yeah, I've got New England going 15-1. I don't think they're going to go undefeated like a lot of people think they are. I think they're going to drop one, especially with Edelman going down. I think it might come a little bit early. Might even happen with the Chiefs on Thursday with Brady having to figure out his other weapons, but Brady's gotten over injuries before. But rest of the division, I don't have anyone getting over 5 wins. I think it's just going to be a monster landslide for the Patriots.
Yeah, I think New England will lock up the division in week 10. I have the Patriots going 15-1, the Bills and Dolphins 4-12. I think the Jets, I just can't find a game on their schedule they win. Maybe against the Browns or Jaguars, but I don't know. They're just so bad. I have them going 0-16. Wouldn't it be cool, though, to go into Week 17 and have the 0-15 Jets at the 15-0 Patriots?
I would love to see that, actually. Because it'd be a better it would be cooler for me if the Jets got their first win to ruin both storylines of an undefeated and the imperfect season. So, but if they also both went 16-0 and 0-16, that also just makes me laugh.
Okay, moving on to the NFC East. This one's another tough division. I could see any one of these 4 teams actually winning it. But what do you guys think? What do you see?
For this one, I have it as Giants, Cowboys, Redskins, Eagles. I think the Giants win this more handily than we would think, but I think it's that all teams could win. I think the Eagles are going to be the worst out of this just because I don't trust Carson Wentz yet. I think if he shows up and can make that offense work very well, then they could win the division. I just think the Giants have the manpower, and if they can get things rolling on the offensive side of the ball, then the defense can take them almost all the way.
Yeah, I think this division is going to come down to what happens with the Ezekiel Elliott
I think that's
appeal.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
If the suspension's reduced, if it's taken away entirely, I think the Cowboys take this division. If through those first 6 weeks the suspension's upheld, it's wide open for the Redskins or the Giants to go ahead and take it. But if Zeke is able to come back earlier or is not suspended at all, it'll be a Dallas win in this division.
Yeah, I have the Giants going 13-3, the Cowboys going 12-4, Redskins 8-8, Eagles 7-9. The Giants, their defense. I think their defense might be the best in the NFL. I mean, find a weak spot. Maybe their linebacking core maybe is the weakest spot in that defense. I mean, their secondary with Landon Collins and Janoris Jenkins, just so good. And their pass rush with Jason Pierre-Paul and Olivier Vernon, also really good. The Redskins, I think, are right around a 500 team. I'm with you on the Eagles. I think they could win 10 or 11 games. It would not surprise me at all if the Eagles win 11 games. I just don't know that I've seen enough in Carson Wentz to really buy into it yet. So that's what I have. Moving on to the last division in the AFC. This is the AFC West. Are we all taking the homer pick with this division and going with the Chiefs?
I am not. I actually have, unfortunately, the Raiders taking this division. I think the Chiefs have a tough schedule. You've got the Steelers, you've got the Patriots, and then all 6 division games are going to be tough in the AFC West. And I think the Raiders with Derek Carr, they're just going to be able to top the Chiefs just a little bit and take that division. But the Chiefs will be a close second and slot into a wild card spot.
My bias showed very much when I picked this division because I picked the Chiefs, and I did it under the assumption that this Raiders team has not beaten the Chiefs. For 2 games last year, Derek Carr did not beat this Chiefs team. This was also Andy Reid having a bye week to prepare for Oakland, and the other one being really cold in Kansas City and Derek Carr not looking like he can throw under 40 degrees. So until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to have the Chiefs, but I think they could lose both of the games against Oakland. And I mean, Kansas City, honestly, they could go 8-8, and I think 7-9 is close to the worst. That if they stay healthy, that they'll go. But I think this team at max can go 13-3 if they get things going and all that kind of stuff. But I have Chiefs, Oakland, the Chargers, and then the Broncos.
I have both teams going 12-4, and then I have the Chargers going 7-9, and the Broncos going 5-11. I'm just not sold on Denver this year. They just don't really wow me at all. You know, their quarterback situation is a mess right now, so that's the way I went. I do have the Chiefs winning the division by tiebreaker. I went into it with every intention of having Oakland win the division, but there were just games I found that I could see Oakland kind of, struggling with, so I didn't go with Oakland. I went with Kansas City, but just by way of tiebreaker. They're both 12-4 according to my predictions. So, like I say, it's kind of a toss-up, I guess. So that's going to be interesting. I think both teams make the playoffs, assuming Alex Smith and Derek Carr both stay healthy. We'll move on to the last division, NFC West. It's Seattle, right?
Seahawks and friends. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone's going to touch the Seahawks this year.
I think if anybody comes close, it'll be the Arizona Cardinals, but they have to have so many things happen and have the Seahawks basically evaporate. Like they just have to have injury after injury, plus players just not playing very well for any other team to have a chance. And
I have the Seahawks going 14-2, Cardinals 6-10, Rams 4-12, 49ers 1-15. Arizona's the second best team in that division, and I think there's a far gap between the best and the second best. Like you said, a lot of things have to happen for Arizona to even probably contend in that division, and they just kind of missed their time window. They had that couple of years where things were really good and things just didn't go their way, and now they're aging. And I mean, they got maybe the best running back in the league, pound for pound, in David Johnson, but Larry Fitzgerald's getting up there in age, so's Carson Palmer. Things just they're over the hill in Arizona, it looks like. So real quick, we'll go through our playoff teams and our Super Bowl predictions. So first, guys, let's just go ahead and each one of us read off your playoff teams from each conference. We'll begin with Sean.
I have the Steelers, Tennessee, Patriots, Chiefs, and the AFC wildcard will be Oakland and Houston.
Yeah, I've got the Patriots, the 1 seed, the Raiders, Steelers, the Titans, and then the Chiefs, and then I actually have the Bengals rounding out your final wildcard spot.
I have the Patriots as the 1 seed, the Steelers the 2 seed, the Chiefs as the 3 seed, the Titans is the 4 seed, the Raiders is the 5 seed, and by tiebreaker, Houston over the Bengals and Ravens for that 6 seed. So that is my AFC. What about the NFC, Sean?
Packers, Buccaneers, Giants, Seahawks, and the Cowboys and Panthers make the wild card.
And I'm still pretty high on the Falcons. I got them actually pulling off the 1 seed, and then the Packers right behind them, the Cowboys, Seahawks. And then I've struggled with the 2 wild card spots, and I'm actually going to change it right here. I think it's going to be the Panthers and then the Giants.
That's pretty accurate. Sean and I actually have almost, I think maybe even the same by seeding. I have the Packers as the 1, the Seahawks as the 2, the Giants as the 3, Bucks the 4, Cowboys the 5, Panthers the 6. So there's my playoff teams. AFC, NFC championship games, who are going to be the 4 teams competing in those come January?
I mean, it's hard to not go chalk. I mean, it's probably going to be the Patriots, Steelers, and probably the Packers and the Seahawks. I mean, I think those are close to the 4 best teams in the league. And again, because it's week 1, it's hard to directly tell how far, like who's going to be there, because you could have Tom Brady go down Thursday, and that's going to change their entire outlook, or they could go 15-1 and just ease their way into the playoffs. And I think those are going to be the 4 teams: the Patriots, Steelers, Packers, and Seahawks.
And like everyone else probably in the country, I've got the Patriots in that AFC Championship game.
That's probably a fair assessment.
And then I've actually got the Raiders. I think they're gonna make it to that championship game. And then I've actually got the Falcons and the Packers matching up in the NFC Championship game.
I think whoever wins the AFC West makes the championship game. I'm just not sold Big Ben can stay healthy this year. I don't know. I think Pittsburgh's going to decline. But Pittsburgh will be good. They'll be 13-3, but I don't know what they'll be come playoff time. If I had Oakland win the division, I would have Oakland in the AFC Championship game because they would not have to go through New England in the divisional round. But the way things worked out, I have Kansas City make it to the AFC Championship game. I know that would mean going through Pittsburgh, but wouldn't that be awesome to go into Pittsburgh and get a playoff win?
Just keep it away from Kansas City.
Yeah, please do. I can't deal with that again.
No.
But so I got Patriots, Chiefs, and then I went same as Sean in the NFC. I went Packers, Seahawks. This Seattle team adding Sheldon Richardson makes that defense even better. So I like Seattle there. I'm just not sold on anybody else there. Maybe the Giants. Maybe I could maybe go with the Giants and feel confident with that. But Patriots, Chiefs, Packers, and Seahawks. Super Bowl 52 it's 52, right? Last year was 51. Yeah, so it'll be 52. Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis in February. Who's going to be playing? Who's going to be winning, Sean?
Well, it's a dome, so it doesn't matter that it'll be cold. I'm going to have the Patriots and the Packers playing because I think that they have the 2 best quarterbacks in the league. Quarterbacks win in this league. And I think the Packers are going to win. I'm not sure the score, but I think it's going to be close. And then after this, I don't know how long Tom Brady stays in the league. I think he can stay if he doesn't get hit. He can stay for a while. But I also think he wants to go out on a win, which would have been better last year. But
yeah, and I've also got the Packers and the Patriots.
yes.
But I think
let's go.
I think the Patriots will win again. The NFL fans, the whole country is not going to like that, but the Patriots are, I think, by far and away your best team in the league right now. And unless something happens, I don't think anybody's going to touch them.
I also have Patriots, Packers, and I'm with Jacob. I have the Patriots winning it. And I think Tom Brady's – I don't think Brady retires after this year. I think he's got 1 or 2 more years in him. I find it hard to believe the competitor in Tom Brady is going to want to go out like this. I almost think Tom Brady go, okay, I won 6. Can I win 7?
Can I have 1 for every finger, though? Yeah. He's just like, can I win 10? And then he's like, I think I could do it. And you're like, no.
Well, he does want to play another 5 years. And I've said that's what doesn't bother with the development of Mahomes is until Brady and Roethlisberger are out of the AFC.
Like, there's not a lot. Like, Derek Carr's getting to that point where he could be that guy who stops, other good quarterbacks from getting to the next level. But it's definitely Brady.
Yep.
Who just stops everyone. Well, and it used to be Manning, but obviously since he retired, there's now a 4th team that's been able to sneak up into the AFC and be that 4th grade.
From 2003 up until this year, so we're talking 14 Super Bowls. 13 of the 14 AFC teams have been led by Brady, Manning, or Roethlisberger. The other one was Joe Flacco. Who would have thought that? But I have the Patriots winning over the Packers. I just want to see an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady matchup in the Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, I can't stand either team, but I would sit down and watch that. That is what I want, is that, the greatest against one of the greatest. So that'll be interesting. Moving on real quick, wrapping things up here. NFL MVP for 2017. Who will it be, and who's a sleeper?
Oh, I didn't have a sleeper pick prepared. Trevor, you're ambushing me. But for my regular league MVP, I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers. I think he's been a great QB, and I think if his line cannot die, and if they have a bit of a running game, then they can have things going. Because if they just have to pass, he got it done last year, but they weren't great. But he still put up massive numbers, even though they could only throw the ball. So I'm gonna go with Aaron. And sleeper, I don't know. There's not a lot of sleepers you can have because everyone's like, well, you could take Le'Veon Bell. That's not really a sleeper. You could take Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady. Maybe Jameis Winston if the Buccaneers do well enough. Matt Ryan could as well if they play well enough, but maybe Derek Carr also. Yeah.
I don't have a sleeper, and then he proceeds to name off about 4 guys.
I know. I just named guys who could be sleepers, but I didn't have them. They were just guys that were like, well, maybe.
Jacob?
I've actually got Derek Carr winning the MVP this year for Oakland. The committee doesn't like to seem to give it to guys that they have given it to before. They like to see a new guy.
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers has won it before. Brady's won it before. Matt Ryan won it last year. Derek Carr put together a great season last year. He's gotten better every year. I think this year is his year, and he'll bring home the MVP for the Raiders.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I almost went Derek Carr, but if the Patriots go 15-1 and dominate, and Tom Brady throws for 45 or 50 touchdowns like he very well could be, it's got to be Brady. It's just, they've given it to him before. I don't know, I think it's twice he's been the MVP. I think Brady gets it. I got 2 guys I think could be sleepers. I was going to go with Jameis, too. I think he's going to have a breakout year. How about Eli Manning? He's got 2 big receivers to throw to now. The running game isn't really there. He's a guy that doesn't get hit. He's almost like a moderate Tom Brady. I mean, he's not nearly the same as Tom Brady, but he kind of plays the same game as Tom Brady. If Eli Manning throws for 40 touchdowns with the weapons he has, that's very possible.
Yeah,
and the Giants go 13-3, and they put up good numbers. Him or Odell Beckham Jr. even could be the guy.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough from Eli in 5 years to make me think that he can do it, but who knows? I can be proved wrong. We could have a defensive player be MVP. Let's say J.J. Watt goes out and gets 25 sacks. Yes, take it. But, generally offensive players run the league. Whether it's good or not, I don't know, but it's what happens.
It is what happens, and football is going to be what happens this week, Thursday night, Chiefs-Patriots on NBC at, I believe, 7:30-ish is the kickoff for that one, and then a huge slate of games this Sunday. It's week 1 of the regular season. I look forward to doing absolutely nothing productive this weekend and having an excuse to do so. A lot of good games. Seattle, Green Bay, the premier game at 3:30 on Fox on Sunday, so definitely want to stay tuned to the NFL this week, and we'll be back for the X106 Sports Podcast. And next week, we'll probably look back at the week that was in the NFL and preview what is ahead in the future for the National Football League. But that'll pretty much do it for the X106 Sports Podcast. Sean Nino, Jacob Blair, I'm Trevor Mater for X106.